All right, let's get started. We're going to continue today our discussion of monopolies. Just remember, to set the stage, we need to pin down market structure to solve the producer's problem. We started with one extreme of market structure, which is perfect competition. Now we've moved to the other extreme, which is monopoly. And we talked last time about the basic economics of monopolies. What I want to talk about now is some topics in thinking about monopolies. I want to begin with sort of, where do monopolies come from? So how do monopolies arise? Where do monopolies come from? And monopolies can really arise in two ways that we're going to focus on in this class. The first is cost advantages, or what we call a natural monopoly. A natural monopoly. So some markets come with natural cost advantages. So we typically think of these as markets with sort of an essential input that's limited, or it's expensive, or it's super expensive to provide that essential input. So you think of like the rock quarry is the classic sort of example. You've got this hole where there's a certain kind of rock you've got to dig. And basically, the nearest rock quarry, like it is hundreds of miles away, is incredibly expensive to transport the rock. Therefore, it makes sense that everyone wants rock in the area of this hole would use the rock from this hole. It's sort of a natural cost advantage. More generally, we say there's a natural monopoly whenever, for all relevant quantities, one firm can produce at a lower average cost than any other firm can. So one firm has lower average cost than any other for all relevant quantities. So there's never really a cost advantage to bringing in another firm, because for all relevant quantities, one firm has the cost advantage. So basically what this means is it's a market where average cost is everywhere declining, at least, once again, within the relevant range of production. You can imagine there's some quantity in, a gazillion for which average cost isn't declining, but at least in the relevant levels of production, average cost is everywhere declining. So to think about this, let's think about a great example here to think about this is think about the case of a water utility, delivering water to your houses. Now, the main cost delivering the water, the main marginal cost is the water, but the main fixed cost is laying the damn pipes, okay, which is unbelievably expensive because you've got to rip up the roads, put the pipes down. And having laid down a set of pipes, it'd be incredibly inefficient to lay down a second set of pipes to have a competing water delivery system. Okay, so an example, this would look something like Figure 15.1. Okay, in Figure 15.1, we look at the cost curves for water utility. The marginal cost of delivering water is very small, but the fixed costs of setting up the system are unbelievably large. Therefore, average cost is always declining and only asymptoting towards marginal cost. Typically, think of average cost in the example done so far as crossing over marginal cost. Marginal cost hitting average cost at its minimum. That's the typical example we've used. But something like a water utility, that's no longer true. If fixed costs are so large and marginal costs are very low, then average cost is not going to hit marginal cost for a long, long time.
Unless you're in California right now.
Well, I'm not going to specific examples. But basically, the point is that essentially you're going to get a situation where average cost is never, and even in California right now, it's not clear how high marginal cost would have to be to justify laying an entire another set of water pipes. You'd have to be pretty large. So basically, where fixed costs are very large and marginal costs are low, you're going to have the situation of everywhere declining average costs. Okay? Now, what that means is it is inefficient for a second firm to enter this market. So once one firm has entered and laid the pipes down, is inefficient. And indeed, no other firm ever will. Because any other firm tried to come in and enter and say, I'm going to set a competing set of prices, the first firm would say, you know what? I'm just going to charge marginal cost plus $1. And you're never going to make your money back. And I'll do that for as long as it takes to drive you out of the market. Okay? So the other firm would never enter because they know that first firm, having paid those fixed costs, is in to win. Okay? And pays those fixed costs, they can just charge marginal cost plus $1 forever. And they're never going to leave because remember, they're never going to have, they're never going to face the shutdown condition. They're never going to leave. So they'll just say, look, we'll just charge marginal cost plus $1 forever until you leave, and then we'll crank our price up again. So there's no real threat of entry in these kinds of natural monopoly markets. Essentially, there's a barrier to entry. And the barrier to entry is these enormous fixed costs. So natural monopolies are going to exist when there's enormous fixed costs and small marginal costs. You're going to get that it's just going to be natural to have one firm providing it, and it's going to be a barrier to any other firm entering. Okay? So that's one way that monopolies can arise.